Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/prorevenge, where people tell us their best stories and when they got revenge on someone or something they didn't like. If you're new around here, please do hit subscribe down below so that you never miss out on another video. But for now, let's sit back, relax and enjoy some pro-revenge stories. Two fitness bullies in my spin class throw shade at me in the studio and on social media. I get both banned from the studio. One gets fired from her job, the other's illegal hustle gets wrecked. On New Year's Day of 2018, I resolved to get in shape. I was never overweight, but growing up in Russia and spending my very early adulthood there, I smoked like a chimney and my cardio was garbage. Going to college in America didn't help matters because I started drinking to go along with my smoking. I decided to start going to spin class. I work at a marketing firm and chose a particular spin class because I received a free year-long membership as a holiday office party present that year. It was a generous gift because it was a trendy, pricey, boutique spin studio. I've ridden bikes my whole life, so I thought, how hard can it be to ride a bike that doesn't go anywhere? But my first day in class was a rude awakening. It was clear that the class that I was attending, an early morning class for people to attend before work, was an advanced one, where the majority seemed to already be part of the culture and very fit. It was obvious I couldn't keep up. The instructor was really nice and told me that since I'm new, it's a good idea for me to ride up front so that I can watch him and copy what he does more accurately. Or, alternatively, he can easily see what I'm doing and offer alternatives if I'm not doing things right. I thought, what a great guy, and what a great class. There were these two other students in the class though, who gradually made my morning spin classes suck. Valerie was obviously very fit. She looked like a model and obviously worked hard to look as good as she did. Boris was her male equivalent. They were both about my age, maybe a few years older, but it was clear they were far more fit than me. They were obviously very invested in that particular gym's culture, in that they were always decked out in the store brand athletic wear. I'm not going to lie, they looked good wearing it. They weren't a couple, but it was obvious that Boris had a thing for Valerie, and Valerie was aware of it, and not reciprocating. Whatever they were doing, it wasn't my business. That thing about both of them being far more fit than me, they didn't let me forget it. For some reason, they seemed to take offense to the fact that I was riding up front. I can see why. The front two rows were filled with the very strongest, fittest people. The let's take a selfie sort of gym people. Except these ones seemed actually fit. At the same time, all the other super hot girls and guys, especially the guys, were very nice to me and didn't seem to care that I rode up front, whereas Valerie and Boris would always shoot these sideward, disgusted glances at me or smirk. I'm not a confrontational person, so I wouldn't do the thing most would do in the situation, such as say, "What's your problem?" I always got to class super early to dress up and adjust my bike. The gym has a policy, first come, first serve, when it comes to choosing one of the 30 bikes in the studio. I noticed a lot of the other people show up early who were also clearly less fit than the stars that occupied the first couple of rows, but they seemed to self-segregate into the very back. I was still new as it was my first couple of weeks, so I sat up front because I was still finding my rhythm. I'd sit right up front where the instructor told me, so that I could watch him, and he could watch me. Every time he would come in, he would greet me enthusiastically and praise me for my commitment to fitness. It was little wonder his class was so popular. Everyone held him in high regard. Sometimes in class, he would shout encouragements to the class as a whole, but also give personal shoutouts to certain students. Despite the darkness of the room, where the instructor said, "Great job there, OP, you're crushing it," I noticed both Boris and Valerie give each other a look and shake their heads, laughing. I never knew for sure why Valerie hated me, but I think it might be because we're both Russian and no one else who went to that class seemed to be, and she wanted to be the only East Euro girl. Who knows? As for Boris, he followed Valerie because he really liked her. Boris and Valerie usually showed up right when class was starting and the whole place was packed. And yet, they were so entitled that there were always 2 bikes up front, right next to each other, reserved for them. Despite the crowd, at 5:30 AM, there was still a couple of empty bikes in the middle or back. But that wasn't good enough for them. I'd be right in the front row too. I got there early, and it was my right to sit wherever I please. And yet, despite them showing up at the last second, they shake their heads at me like I'm the one who's got a lot of nerve. Well, this goes on day after day for a whole month, and despite the fact that I'm no longer new and I'm starting to get more fit and don't really need the instructor so much just to survive the hour on the bike, I still sit right up front. I thought maybe the particular bike that I was selecting had some significance to Valerie or Boris. And that's why they copped such an attitude all the time. I always rode on the same bike. By this time, I was a bit chummy with a lot of the other women and knew their names, and we'd hug in the morning. I thought I should make peace with Valerie, if not Boris, who always sort of gave me a "I hate you because Valerie hates you, but if there was no Valerie, I'd totally go out with you" vibe. So when I saw Valerie that morning, as usual, she showed up right when the class started and sat next to me. I politely asked, "Was this your bike before and you were used to it? We can trade if you like." She rolls her eyes at me and gives Boris a look, and like a donkey, he smirks too. She actually says, "You should sit in the back. We're motivating people up here and you're hogging the mirror space." There was a whole wall mirror in front of the classroom. I'm thinking, what is this, high school? What the actual heck? You've got to be 30 years old and you're acting like this. And seriously, you may be fitter than me, but I'm just as tall and don't weigh any more than you do or take up any more mirror space in the mirror, and it wouldn't matter even if I did. We're adults, or at least I am. That's what I wish I said. Instead, I just put my head down and went on with my class. Eventually, I got so familiar with the other students because the same regulars would come to the class every day that we all became social media friends. I even became social media friends with the instructor. I don't post much on social media. I don't show where I work or every single thing I do or my random brain farts. I just post the occasional photo. On one of these rare photos, where I was admittedly begging for approval because I was proud of developing abs, the spin instructor himself commented how proud he was of me. A lot of people from spin class also said nice things. I was friends neither with Valerie nor Boris on social media, but they both liked the instructor's comment on my photo, and my guess is it's because they both liked to kiss his butt. They certainly never showed me any kindness in class, unlike everyone else who was supportive of me. I clicked on their names and my suspicions were confirmed. Both of them practically lived on social media and took endless selfies, showed off their bodies, humble bragged non-stop. They also made no secret of who their employers were. Valerie tried to claim she was a model, even though it was clear her only real job was being a sales rep for a beauty brand. Valerie was only a model in the "take a picture of yourself using your iPhone in front of the bathroom mirror" sense. So Valerie, I guess that makes me a model too. These two were such idiots that they'd post really dumb things on each other's walls. It didn't seem like they really had lives other than to talk trash against people. I saw that they had one exchange where they were clearly talking about me. How do I know? Because they actually said my name and said that I was ugly and a wannabe and skinny fat and all this other horrible stuff. They also talked a lot about other people in the class and said horrible things, and actually named names. It doesn't seem like they were friendly with the other people, even the very fit people who in some cases were even fitter. In terms of the class, they were social media friends with the instructor and some of the other teachers on the schedule, and with each other, but not with anyone else. Anyway, I actually confirmed my suspicion that Boris was low-key thirsty. After the spin instructor made a nice comment on my picture, and Boris saw that I existed online, he sent me a private message asking me to go out for coffee sometime. I ignored the message, which is just as well, because the next time in class, he ignored me and just followed Valerie's normal smirk and psh routine. I don't like to start drama, but I don't like being bullied and trashed either. I screen captured and saved a lot of both Valerie's and Boris's comments where they trashed at least a dozen people in our class, and then made a dummy Facebook account. I fired off every screen capture to the owner of the studio. Not just the manager of that particular branch, but the owner of the whole company, in addition to the branch manager. I let them know that these two cretins were trashing many people in the morning class and creating a hostile, unwelcome environment. I was also nice enough to send the appropriate screen captures where Boris and Valerie named specific people in their class to those actual people, if their accounts weren't set to where only friends could message them or post on their feeds. In less than a week, Boris and Valerie were gone. Both had their memberships revoked and were banned from every one of the brand's studios. Several of the people that Valerie insulted were sufficiently offended that they sent emails to Valerie's employer. Valerie, as previously mentioned, made no secret of where she worked, about what a hateful, body-shaming person she was, and how such a person should not be any kind of brand ambassador. From what the other girls in the studio tell me, Valerie got fired from her job. Don't worry, Valerie, you still have your modeling career of taking selfies in your panties next to your toilet in your apartment. I had the pleasure of seeing some of the less patient, ripped buff dudes in class who didn't find it amusing that Boris was telling Valerie on Facebook that he could kick anyone's butt in the class. Openly offer to let him test his theory anytime, anywhere. Unfortunately, Boris was too occupied up front getting his membership cancelled and being refunded, and being told to never come back please, to make such arrangements. See ya, douchebag. Boris had a wannabe, unlicensed personal training business that he talked about on Facebook, and several of the men in the class who had legit training certificates shut him down with a quickness. There's always Starbucks. Maybe I'll go in for a coffee sometime and buy it from you, Boris Easter. As for me, I still show up early, but I usually find my comfort zone in row 2 now, or even further back. There's always new students, and I like them to sit right up front so they feel welcome. That's what it means to be in a fitness community. Everyone's welcome. This isn't some kind of high school cafeteria, you can't sit with us BS. I loved the class so much, I kept going into 2019 as a paying member, even after my free year was finished. In 18 months, I've posted 3 pictures related to the spin class. That 4-pack is coming in nicely, lol. From certain lighting angles anyways. Goals. Haven't smoked in ages, still drink like a fish. It's the Russian in me, I think. I honestly hope Boris and Valerie grew up. I low-key hope they marry because they deserve each other. Though I also hope they don't breed, because that much narcissism from 2 parents would result in a kid with lots of issues. I legit will never understand people who mock people in the gym. Like every gym I've been to, everyone has been really nice and supporting and whatever, but they're going to the gym to get fit. Why do you have to take the mick out of them for not being fit when they're literally trying to improve themselves? Someone please explain that. Memorable farewell. Before I get started, a little bit about my field. It's the infamous IT or information technology. Yes, you could say I'm a modern day slave. I'm not a techie, but a professional who manages other techies. Assign projects, coordinate, administer projects, and do what is known as talent engagement at a junior level. Since I didn't earn direct revenue, I was not considered as valuable as a real technology guy. At the same time, I needed to work well over 50 hours a week without additional pay, and sometimes work weekends too. In the situation I was in, you could say this was a reasonably well-paying but stressful job. My solace were people, technology consultants, who knew what value I was bringing on the table and became friends. Learning was great. So far, so good. Since I was a cheerful soul, didn't mind extra work, and was generally considered a maintenance-free resource, my boss had high expectations from me. I was from a humble university and a small city, and was hesitant to trumpet my achievements. Was under impression that my work would speak for itself. At that time, I was far away from my hometown and freshly heartbroken in love, and thus was devoting all of my free time in work, 100% devoted. The company was growing, and so my department and I got 2 university freshers as trainees to support my work. I was given a hint that if everything goes well, I may get promoted as an assistant manager. I was happy. The fresh grads, let's call them Jane and Joe, were really cool, and we became sort of buddies. I did my best to teach them the work and acted as an informal mentor. As time flew, we started sharing our stories, started going for weekend drinks, etc. One evening, when I was finishing tons of paperwork for recruitment drives, I was in HR, we were discussing our salaries. Jane pointed out that I was really naive, and possibly a fool for not knowing my worth. She said she noticed how hard I was working and genuine I was, and because of my nature, she is letting the secret out. Turned out, despite I leading the team and having 3 years of experience in the field, I wasn't even making half of what she was offered. I was surprised and felt really insulted, not because of her, but my boss. I started planning my exit. I really wanted to make it grand, however, didn't know how to go about it. Then it dawned upon me. I was an asset for this firm because I could do multitasking in 2 or 3 different fields. I started saying yes to almost any project that came my way. Started working on weekends to execute it perfectly just to refresh my knowledge. And of course, started attending interviews. I ended up with a job, and I negotiated my salary that was 3 times what I was making. I outperformed competition thanks to all the extra work I had taken up. Because of the extra work, in case you wish to know, they were talent engagement programs, HR insights or analytics, and business analysis. I can't pinpoint who was the douchebag in chief in my management team. My immediate superior was a spineless guy, and yes man to his boss. His boss, let's call him Peter, was a truly unique POS I've ever seen. They gracefully told me that they are still reconsidering my promotion. It was 6 months since I successfully managed 2 projects, and overachieved the targets given to me. So I requested some vacation, as I needed a break. They obliged. I went to my hometown, spent 2 memorable weeks with dad and mum, and told them I was moving forward to a next job. Finished my vacation and reached office looking my best. Brought some gifts for everyone in the department, gave a small treat, and then put my resignation on the table. I did see the piece of cake literally getting stuck in the throat of the boss. They immediately sprang into action to know what was wrong. By then, I figured they needed at least 2, if not 3 people to do my job. I enjoyed during my notice period, and very politely said, "Thank you for everything," to my boss, who was playing nice in front of me all along. After a couple of months, I got a confidential call from the Vice President of HR, requesting some inputs. I shared my first-hand experience, consisted top-notch performance and their treatment. She apologized profusely and said I had an offer on her table if I wished to join. I left the city as it was planned, went on to a fresh start, grew well in my new organization. And the best part? I recruited those 2 buddies whom I had trained in a different branch of my new company. After a year, I heard that my department didn't exist anymore. Top management couldn't justify the cost of 4 senior people they had hired to replace a team of 3. Well, I hope she went out and bought Jane some drinks, because 3 times was offered to someone new and you're making— wow, that's so bad. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like. And if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.